There is one gesture so disarmingly powerful that the moment a man does it, something shifts inside a woman's chest. Her walls drop, her guard dissolves, and she starts feeling something she cannot logically explain. The twisted part? Almost no man on this planet is doing it. Not because it's complicated, not because it requires money, six-pack abs, or a luxury car, but because in a world drowning in recycled dating advice, this one thing got buried under a mountain of absolute nonsense. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is, exactly why it works, and exactly how to use it, starting tonight. A study from the University of Essex found that the mere presence of a smartphone on a table, not even being used, just sitting there doing nothing, reduced the quality of conversation and the feeling of connection between two people by nearly 50%. 50. A phone that nobody touched managed to cut emotional intimacy in half. Now think about what that means in reverse. What happens when a man removes every single distraction and gives a woman something so rare in today's world that most women have completely stopped expecting it? That is what this video is about. And I need to warn you right now, once you understand this gesture, you will never look at your interactions the same way. You will also realize painfully how many opportunities you have already missed. But that's fine, because after today, you won't miss another one. Before I tell you what this gesture actually is, though, I need to clear the table, because I already know what some of you are thinking, and you are wrong. Let me save you some time. This gesture is not about buying her flowers. It is not about opening car doors or pulling out chairs. It is not about texting her good morning with a heart emoji at 6 a.m. every day for 2 months straight. Those things are fine. They're polite, but they don't melt a woman. They check a box. And there's a massive difference between checking a box and creating a feeling so deep that she replays the moment in her head 3 days later while standing in line at the grocery store holding a bag of frozen peas. This is also not about grand romantic gestures, the cinematic ones where a man shows up at an airport terminal with a boombox over his head. Those moments look stunning on screen, but in real life, they often feel more performative than personal. A woman doesn't want a performance. She wants proof. Proof that she is not just another face in the room. Proof that when she speaks, her words actually land somewhere. And that somewhere is the entire secret. So what is this gesture? The most powerful gesture that melts any woman and that almost nobody uses is full, undivided, intentional presence. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, seriously, that's it? Stay with me. Because you do not understand the weight of what I just said. You think you do. But the gap between thinking you understand presence and actually practicing it is exactly why this gesture is so devastatingly rare. Every man alive believes he gives attention. Almost none of them actually do. Here is what full presence looks like in practice. A woman is talking to you. Maybe she is telling you about her day, about something frustrating her coworker said, about a thought she had on her drive home. And instead of half listening while your eyes drift toward the television, instead of nodding absent-mindedly while mentally composing your reply, instead of glancing at your phone because it buzzed with a notification that could not possibly matter less, you stop. Everything stops. Your body turns toward her. Your eyes meet hers. Your phone is gone, not on silent, not flipped over on the table, actually gone from sight. And you listen, not to respond, not to fix, not to one-up her with your own story. You listen to understand. And then comes the part that absolutely destroys a woman's emotional defenses. You say something that proves you actually heard her. Not, that sucks, babe. Not a distracted, You say something specific. Wait, your coworker said that in front of everyone? How did that make you feel? Or better yet, you bring it up 3 days later, completely unprompted. Hey, did things ever get better with that situation at work you told me about? That right there is the gesture, and it is devastatingly effective. I know a woman, a friend of mine, who was dating a man for about 4 months. He wasn't the tallest, wasn't the wealthiest, wasn't the funniest person in every room. But she once told me, with this look on her face that I will never forget, when he listens to me, I feel like the entire world goes quiet. She said he remembered that she mentioned wanting to try a specific bakery 3 weeks earlier. And one Saturday morning, without announcing it, he just drove her there. No fanfare, no look what I did for you moment, just proof that her words lived somewhere inside him. She married that man. And honestly, I understood why. Let me explain why this gesture hits women on such a primal, almost unfair level, because the biology is genuinely fascinating. Dr. John Gottman, who has studied over 3,000 couples across 4 decades at the University of Washington, identified something he calls bids for connection. These are small, everyday moments when one partner reaches out for attention, affirmation, or engagement. His research found that couples who consistently turned toward each other's bids had an 86% chance of staying together. Couples who turned away, they had a 16% survival rate. That is not a minor gap. That is the difference between a relationship that thrives for 50 years and one that quietly dies on a Tuesday. When a woman feels genuinely seen and heard, her brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This is the same neurochemical release during physical intimacy, during skin-to-skin contact, during moments of profound trust. So when you give a woman your complete, focused attention, her brain is literally treating it as an act of intimacy. She may not consciously understand why she feels so pulled towards you, but biochemically, her nervous system is responding as though you are holding her. And here is the brutal flip side that nobody talks about. When a woman is speaking and she senses, even subtly, that you are distracted, her cortisol levels rise. That is the stress hormone, the threat hormone. So half listening does not just fail to build connection, it actively builds resentment. Every time you nod while your thumb scrolls through a sports score, her subconscious is quietly filing that moment under a category labeled, "He doesn't actually care." She might never mention it. She might not even realize she is keeping track. But those files accumulate, and eventually she tells you she is done, and you stand there stunned, genuinely having no idea what went wrong. That is what went wrong. So if this gesture is this effective, why is it this rare? 3 reasons, and each one is more frustrating than the last. First, most men have been conditioned to express love through action, not attention. Fix the leaky faucet, pay the bill, solve the problem, handle things. And those contributions absolutely matter. Nobody is dismissing them. But they are not the same as presence. A man can renovate an entire kitchen for a woman and still make her feel completely invisible if he never once looks her in the eyes when she is speaking. Action without attention is labor. Action with attention is love. And most men have never been taught the difference. Second, modern technology has systematically dismantled our ability to be present with another human being. Research from Asurian found that the average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That is once every 10 minutes. Your phone has trained your brain to constantly chase the next notification, the next dopamine microhit, the next ping of digital validation. So even when you are sitting across the table from someone you genuinely care about, a part of your attention is always leaking toward that glowing rectangle. And women feel that leak. Believe me, they feel it like cold air coming through a crack in the window. Third, and this is the one nobody wants to confront, most men simply do not realize that attention is a love language. Not officially, maybe. Gary Chapman listed 5. But I would argue that presence is the invisible 6th one that holds all the others together. Men tend to believe love lives in the grand gestures, the surprise vacations, the expensive anniversary dinners, the jewelry box moments. But ask any woman what genuinely makes her feel most cherished, and the answer almost always circles back to some quiet variation of, "He makes me feel like I actually matter to him." That does not require a credit card. It requires eye contact, stillness, and the willingness to let her finish her sentence. Understanding a concept and living it out are 2 completely different things. So let me break this into steps that you can start using immediately. Step 1, build a phone ritual. When you are with her, at dinner, on the couch, in the car, wherever, put your phone somewhere you physically cannot see it. Not face down on the table, not in your front pocket on vibrate where you can feel every buzz against your thigh. Somewhere genuinely out of reach. A jacket pocket hung on a chair, a drawer, your bag. This sends a nonverbal signal louder than any sentence you could construct. Nothing happening on that screen is more important than you right now. A study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships confirmed that phone-free conversations produced significantly higher levels of empathy, trust, and overall connection quality. This is not a soft suggestion. It is hard data. Step 2, Orient your entire body. When she is talking, turn toward her. Not just your head, your shoulders, your torso, your knees, everything. Body language research from UCLA demonstrated that over 55% of emotional communication is nonverbal. When your body is angled toward a television, a window, or literally anything other than her subconscious interprets that as disinterest. Even if your ears are technically open and you can repeat back every word she said, your body tells a story your mouth cannot override. Step 3. Listen without an agenda. This is the one that trips most men up. The male brain is often wired for problem solving. Someone presents a problem, you offer a solution, case closed. But most of the time, women are not bringing you a problem to fix. They are bringing you an experience to share. They want validation, not a verdict. So instead of jumping in with, well, here's what you should do, try asking one follow-up question. What was that moment like for you? Or, how are you feeling about it now? These small questions carry more emotional weight than a $1,000 bracelet. That is not an exaggeration. That is what 40 years of relationship research keeps confirming. Step 4, the callback. This is the advanced technique. This is what separates a man who listens from a man who remembers. Days, sometimes even weeks later, you reference something she told you in passing. Hey, wasn't your big meeting today? How did it go? Or, did you ever end up trying that Thai place you mentioned? When a woman realizes that you didn't just hear her words, you stored them because they mattered to you, something tectonic shifts in the way she sees you. That is the moment she stops viewing you as a guy she's spending time with and starts seeing you as her person, the one who actually pays attention, the one who proves it without being asked. Esther Perel, one of the most respected relationship therapists alive today, said something that has never left me. She said, "The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. Not your job title, not your income bracket, not how many followers you have, your relationships. And the quality of those relationships is not constructed in the highlight reel moments. It is built in the tiny, forgettable, seemingly insignificant seconds when you chose to be present instead of distracted, when you chose to look up instead of look down." The reason this gesture melts women is not because it is inherently romantic. It is because it is vanishingly rare. In a world where everyone is perpetually half present, half distracted, and half committed to every conversation they enter, giving someone your full, complete attention is almost an act of rebellion. It communicates something words never could. I see you. Not your highlight reel, not your social media persona. You. The real, complicated, messy, beautiful you. For a woman who has spent years being talked at, talked over, talked past, and talked through, that single moment of being truly, fully seen is the most intoxicating experience a man can offer. It costs nothing. It requires no rehearsal. And it cannot be faked, because a woman always knows the difference between a man who is simply there and a man who is truly there. The man who is truly there becomes irreplaceable, not because he is flawless, but because in a room full of noise, he made her feel like the only sound that mattered. So here's what I want you to carry with you after this video. Every single interaction you have from this moment forward is a choice, not a chance to perform, not a chance to impress with clever lines or rehearsed charm, a chance to be fully, unapologetically present with the person standing in front of you. That is the gesture, and it will change more than your dating life. It will change the way people experience you entirely. But, and this matters, presence is only half of the equation, because how you make someone feel in the moment is critical. Yes, but what you actually say inside that moment, that determines whether attention turns into genuine attraction. And most men are choosing the absolute worst words without even realizing the damage they are doing. A bad compliment can undo 10 minutes of perfect presence in half a second. Which is exactly why you need to watch the video on your screen right now. 8 compliments that make a woman fall for you. Because when you combine the presence you just learned about with the exact right words delivered at the exact right moment, that is not just connection anymore. That is an unfair advantage most men will never have. It is on screen right now. Tap it before the algorithm buries it. Because knowing what to do and not doing it is the most expensive kind of ignorance there is.